Well, howdy folks, Hellcorrex here, and welcome to Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 90. And today we're going to delve into another Star League era, into the 3039 technology and beyond. The Champion, the 60-ton mech that finds itself being used a lot, depending on what era I'm playing in. But I like this mech due to several factors. And let's just delve into it. The Champion, 60 tons, has a battle value of about 1100. It is a 580, so it's a fairly fast-moving mech. 10 heat sinks, sort of a drawback. 128 points of armor, another slight drawback. Now, armor. Yeah, okay. Now, the weapons. The carries in the right torso an AC-10 with 2 tons of ammo in the right torso, SRM6 in the left torso with a ton of ammo, 2 medium lasers in the left torso, and 2 small lasers in the center torso. Yeah, kind of sort of using them for like anti-infantry and all that kind of fun stuff, or up close and personal. Now, what do I like about the Champion? Its speed. To me, I use the Champion as a very fast-moving, kind of heavy scout. It falls under the same category as I like to use a lot of the other medium mechs, the 5.8s, because with 5.8 movement, you have some good modifiers. You know, you can get up to the +3 modifier if you're moving pretty decently, and you're able to get into flank positions quickly. Now, one of the slight drawbacks with this mech is it doesn't have any jump jets. You know how I feel about it's like jump jets are kind of a item that kind of gets you out of some sticky situations every once in a while, because hey, you know, if you're able to get over top a piece of terrain quickly and disengage, or get over some terrain or some other mechs and get in behind some other ones and put some love into somebody's backside. Oop, what did I just say that? Oh, that sounds creepy. But it's one of those things where you're able to just cause all kinds of havoc. And if you're able to move around the flanks quickly, you're able to get around and hit those support units. Let's say somebody likes to play with a longbow on a regular basis, or some other type of missile boat, and these kind of mechs are able to get around quickly and engage them at point blank range and cause all kinds of little activities that will cause them all kinds of havoc. That's what I like about them, is their ability to force an issue quickly. All right, unlike a lot of small, slower mechs, like you get into some of those assault mechs. You know, they're like the 3.5 movers. They're geared around just plain firepower. They're called assault mechs because they're hitting, typically you're going to be throwing those up against some type of structural fortifications and stuff like that, where they got the armor, they got the weapons to just tear things up quickly. Champions and other 5.8 movers, they are your kind of, I like to put them, since I was cavalry back in my day in the armored cavalry in the army, I always look at things as, how do I get around quickly and get in around somebody's backfield and cause all kinds of havoc as much as possible. And that's what I like about these things. Now, I kind of mentioned the several drawbacks of the Champion. One is the heat sinks, and 2 is the armor. So you get a 60-ton mech that's running around sometimes with the armor of like a 45-tonner. So you're kind of on the end of, with that speed comes the drawback. You're gaining speed at the expense of armor, and there's other ways to handle that. Now, a fast mech like this doesn't necessarily need one weapon, and that's sucking up a lot of the tonnage that could go to your armor, is that autocannon. Love the AC-10, does great work, but it is heavy. And a lot of times you're probably better off with like a PPC or a large laser, because when you're a 5.8 mover, you can get into position quickly and hit somebody pretty hard with a large laser or PPC instead of the autocannon. And I'd eventually, being that I always like things for long-term operations, so say if you are Cav and you're going into the backfield with somebody, 20 shots, yeah, it may seem like a lot, but if you're doing a long extended campaign where you're not worried about, or you have to worry about ammunition, and you're playing as a mercenary commander or even a standard campaign commander, armor or ammo is a thing that you have to constantly look at. So, all right. Now, let's look at something here. Okay, let's look at a variance. Then we can talk about how we can fix that problem. Most common but difficult field modification for the champion during a Star League involved replacing the substantial substandard heat sinks with double strength heat sinks. Yes, you can. And that will take care of some of the problems. Now, since we're talking about the Star League, let's delve over here to the Star League design. Now, the difference between the standard champion and of the 39 era and the Star League 2750 is that in 2750, instead of a standard autocannon, you have an LBX-10 with 2 tons of ammo. So you're going to probably have canister shot, and you're going to also have solid shot. So when you're closing, you're going to hit them with the standard shot. So you're ripping 10-point blocks off, and hopefully by the time they get hit, you're going to hit them with that cluster round and go crit hunting. That's just how I always use the LBX cannon. Now, and then you also have the SRM6s, which are also a great crit hunting weapon system also. And then you get into the medium lasers and the small lasers. Those, you get one shot every time they hit. I love medium lasers. You get a possible chance of critical if you get into an open slot past the armor, and it does 5 points damage for only 3 heat. All right, and it's only a ton. That's the lovely thing about it. You can put a lot of medium lasers on something and get in close to somebody and just tear them up. Kind of like when we talked about the Hunchback before. You get this way back version where it's running around with 8 medium lasers. Yeah, it's like you have a choice between one shot with an AC-20. Yes, when it hits, it does lovely work. But with a bunch of medium lasers, 4 hits with a medium lasers, you're doing the same. Yeah, it may not be all in the same spot. Or it could be. You could roll all nothing but 7s and put everything in the same spot. So, here nor there. We kind of digress. Now, the Star League champion has ferrofibers armor, which is 143 points of armor versus the 128. So right there, just by having ferrofibers armor, yeah, you're losing 16 slots. But on this mech right here, you got plenty of open spots to put ferro on, and you're able to a little bit better armor situation. And you put 10 double heat sinks, so now you can dissipate 20. Heck, now you can fire everything you have without worrying about any heat, because when you look at it, let's see, the autocannon is 3, 4, there's 7, 10, 13. Yeah, best 17 points of heat is the best you're going to do with all the weapon systems you have on this thing. If you have double heat sinks, this thing's going to be running cold all day. Now, what would I do with it? Let's just stay with the Star League mech real quick and just see what we can do with it. I typically will do this, would be drop the LBX cannon. Yeah, you're kind of losing the canister ability to do a lot of crit hunting, which is kind of good, because if you're a flanker and your follow-on forces are ripping armor off stuff, you can get in there and start hitting people with canister shots, and then you're just hitting here, 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 and here with 1 point shots, but each one is a crit. There's been games where I played where you hit somebody with an LBX-10 and get 10 hits, and then suddenly it's like chance critical, chance critical, chance critical, chance critical, because they have hardly any armor. Or if they do have armor and you're getting head hits too, or you get chance criticals like Snake Eyes, where you center torso, chance, or right and left torso, depending what angle you're hitting it from. Now, what I would like to do with this one, which I have done in the past, is take off the LBX-10, replace it with an E or PPC. That will free up, so that's the LBX-10, you're looking at 13 tons of space right there. You take off the, replace it with a PPC, and now you're sitting at 7. That's 6 tons to play with. What are you going to do with 6 tons? Well, glad you asked. I'm maxing out my armor, and I am adding more medium lasers. Alright? Because if I'm going to get close into flanking, I want something that is able to do a little bit more damage up close and do some more crit hunting. And if I move, like say, hit somebody in the rear, you could do some great work that way. And another option, which I have done in the past, is put on 4, replace 4 of the tons with 4 jump jets. Now 5 is kind of, you're getting up to 5 tons, so it just leaves you a free ton. I'd rather have a little bit more armor, so if you put 2 tons more of armor on plus the ferro, you're getting close to maxing out. You're just like, let's see, might be like 12, something like that, points short of maximum, which is something you can live with. But you're able to do a little bit of jumping also, so that increases your mobility. So those 2 options with the Star League mech. Now, what do I do with the Champion in the 39 era? Well, glad you asked. If you drop the autocannon and just replace it with a standard PPC, you're looking at, there's 14, you got 14 tons, and then you turn around and that puts, see, 3, 7. You got 7 tons to play with. You can add on a couple medium, or like add a bunch of armor on. Let's just see if I can bring this up. If I got the, yeah, here's the one I've always played with, is like you got a PPC, SRM, 3 medium lasers, and the small lasers, and then I put on 2 heat sinks. That's because you don't have, in the 39 era, you don't have double heat sinks yet. Okay, that's a little bit, so you need a couple heat sinks to kind of dissipate the heat that you generate with that PPC. Then when you get in close, you're going to be firing the SRMs, the 3 medium lasers. Yeah, usually you're looking at 9 and 4s, 13. So yeah, and if you run, you can go up to 15. So yeah, you're going up 3 in the heat scale. But you know, that's the era when you don't have the doubles. So you have to manage your heat a little better. So it's one of those things where fire, shut off something, fire something, shut off something, so you just cool off a little bit. And that's kind of how you manage mechs like this in the 39 era. You have to just look at how you're going to use stuff in shot blocks. Is that you look at your target, where you're going to hit it. And it's like, all right, I'm going to fire this group, and then the next turn I'm going to fire this group. So this group, this group, this group. So you can always keep yourself below the forward heat threshold, so 4 or less. Okay. I always say it, and I always say it, is that you're not doing yourself any favors in the game if you're slowing yourself down, because if you're slowing yourself down, you're going to get hit easier. And if you really heat your mech up, so you're getting up to that 10 heat sink level, then you're shooting yourself in the foot when you're basically giving yourself slowed mech, and you're giving yourself modifiers to hit. Okay, why hurt yourself anymore? Because if the difference between a 7 and an 8 may be the difference between your PPC hitting or not, or your medium lasers hitting or not. There's been many games that, all right, I need a 7 to hit. Okay, and then I roll nothing but 8s or nothing but 6s. You know, it's one of those games where randomness takes place. So you can't guarantee anything. There's been times where I needed 3s to hit, and I've rolled a couple snake eyes. Like, man, I just missed with my 2ER PPCs that on my mech that I had. And it's like, what are the dice gods hating me for at that moment? It's like, am I doing something wrong? So never guarantee that you're going to hit so don't add any more modifiers to yourself. Okay. Now what the enemy does, hey, let them cook their mechs. Make it a little harder to hit you. Hey, that's much better. Okay, let them try to alpha strike, and then, because, oh man, the number of times I've seen people try to alpha strike and then just epically fail, and it's like, oh, geez, you fired every single weapon, you're cooking up on the 20 heat scale, and you got these chances of maybe some ammo explosions and stuff. Yeah, because when you get up to, okay, yeah, at 20, you got the 4+ save. Yeah, hey, I've seen guys roll snake eyes on their ammo explosion and then blow up. I've said this before. I had a mech once with some infernal rounds and then turned around and they failed. Okay, I got to make a shutdown and I got to make the 4+ ammo explosion, and then they turn around and roll snake eyes on the ammo explosion and then watch their entire brand new mech detonate. And like, oh, sorry, that was where all I did was hit you for a few points of damage, and then you exploded because you shot yourself in the foot. Hey, thank you. We'll move on and find another target to do it to. Now, so with that kind of derivations with working on this mech, yeah, the autocannon's great. It doesn't put out a lot of heat, but it comes with the expense of the weight. So if you take the weight off, then you have something. So the only thing you have to worry about is that SRM6 and that torso. And that's another drawback, is that you're running around with ammo, and there's, what, 4 spots in the torso that can be hit in that left torso, I believe. Yes, so you got a 1 in 4 shot of hitting ammo, because in 39 you do not have case. So that is a drawback. So that could be a problem. So you got to look at that too. There's something like that. Because there's other times you could turn around and remove that, and that's 4 tons, and give yourself 4 more medium lasers. Heck, now that would be interesting. Might think about trying that sometime. But the Champion is a pretty decent mech. So if you take it out, if you haven't ever used one, give it a shot. Because, oh, I forgot to mention, with the version, the 39 version, where you take the PPC off and put the PPC on and replace the AC-10, you have 200 points of armor. That is good. So you got something that can handle getting shot at as it's running around in somebody's backfield. That's you're looking at almost 80 more points of armor comparatively before. That's nothing to sneeze about. All right. Now, if you got any good stories about the Champion, like getting in behind somebody and hurting them really hard, or even having an entire lance, it's like, I got 2 of them. There were times when I thought about getting a couple more and just having a whole lance of Champions. I never did get around to doing that because there's so many mechs out there you need to have. You got to share the love, I guess. All right, so if you got any good stories, share them, and we will talk with you later in the next one. Hellcrags out.